Hello, good evening, and what about you? And apologies, we're a day late with this week due to technical problems. The light's okay, the camera's okay, the sound hasn't been that great. And I've had some nice advice. There was some decent advice came out. Somebody texted me and he said that the problem is dampening. I need to dampen the sound, which would involve putting up sound panels. But the fact that I'm doing this in my kitchen, I don't think that would work, because the wife would chuck me out. So we're just going to have to make do, you know what I mean? I'm doing my best with it, but we're going to have to make do. The other thing is that you had positive feedback with that there, and there's been negative feedback. I had a bit of negative feedback this week. I had this chap, he got in touch, he left a comment, Jake, your sketches used to be funny and even-handed. Now you are coming across as more and more extreme anti-loyalist. This doesn't really annoy me as much as bores me. You understand? For 30 years now coming, I've been getting exactly this sort of stuff. You're picking on us and you're not picking on them, so you're not, it's them on the other side are doing it and you're not picking on them. Let me explain this to you once and for all. This is going to follow the news. You know what I mean? Whatever is in the news, I'm going to talk about, and it's going to be based on that. One of my greatest claims to fame is that within one day, one morning on Twitter, someone described me as a pro-unionist castle Catholic. Before the day was out, the same day, somebody else called me a dirty, provo-loving, Fenian beep. I love that. That really made me happy. I've kept them too. I've got them somewhere. That makes me happy. So it's been a big week for Arlene. Arlene's last week as First Minister, and she doesn't want to let go of that car and the perks. Sure she doesn't. Arlene's hanging on like from there till the last minute. And it started off well for her last week. She won her libel case and was awarded 125 grand off that idiot, the doctor in England, Jensen, whatever they call him. But then that turned Turk when he decided that he had no money, right? So he's put an online appeal to raise money to pay Arlene. Good luck with that, doctor. Good luck with that one. Arlene's in a funny situation as far as her legacy goes. She proved her political ineptitude with the RHI scandal and her political gullibility with, of course, the Northern Ireland Protocol. But I still believe Arlene has a chance to redeem herself. Arlene can grasp it back, because believe it or not, Arlene is going to take on the trolls.
What I worry about is when people who act on Twitter as if it's the Wild West and that they can say whatever they like, and then others join in and pile in to cause maximum harm and maximum damage. I think it's important that is called out. And so the anonymity piece has to be challenged, I think. I'm not suggesting that people have to put up the true names if there's a reason why they don't want to do that. But somebody needs to know who owns the Twitter account and be held accountable if they decide to tweet harmful and abusive and frankly libelous comments. So
fighting the trolls online, which sounds like that's going to be your new mission.
To be honest, I can't see the Twitter and Facebook folding for Arlene. But if she does it, fair play to her. I'll back her in that one, no doubt. The other thing is, of course, that the real thing that Twitter and Facebook and all the big Google, and they're all terrified this week, was the announcement by the G7, and the Chancellor of Exchequer had this to say about it.
I'm delighted to announce that G7 finance ministers today, after years of discussions, have reached a historic agreement to reform the global tax system to make it fit for the global digital age, and crucially to make sure that it's fair, so that the right companies pay the right tax in the right places, and that's a huge prize for British taxpayers. This is a very proud moment, and I want to thank my G7 finance minister colleagues for their collective leadership and for their willingness to work together to seize this moment to strike a deal of historic significance that finally brings our global tax system into the 21st century.
And the country this is going to affect the most, Ireland. The Republic, they're stuffed for decades. Come on in, Google, come on in, come on. Hello, come on in. Facebook, come on in, come on. Don't you worry about them taxes now, we'll take care of that. Decades, and now they're stuffed. Just, it's going to be bad. It's going to be messy. It's going to be nasty. It's going to be so bad. Mickey D, the president, is going to have to get rid of one of his dogs. He's going to have to sell one of his dogs. He couldn't afford to feed both them big lions. There's no way. You know, Mickey talked about this. He talked about this. He was interviewed about it.
Down, Shep, down. No, down, boy. Good boy. I would just like to say that it's an absolute disgrace. An absolute disgrace that I've had to get rid of this dog. I'll have to sell this dog. And I haven't even been able to write a poem about it. All I can say is I had 2 dogs, and now I have 1. I am done. By the way, that acorn behind me is actual size. I know it's hard to be down.
Back up north. Edwin has been, shall we say, vacillating. Nice word, vacillating. He's not really, you don't know what's going on with Edwin. Because he started off saying, he was interviewed and he said, if this Northern Ireland protocol, if it stays, there will be blood on the streets.
Because we have violence on our streets in Northern Ireland that hasn't been the case for years, and that's in the back of this protocol.
Points out the marching season is quite close and that this situation could provoke violence over the summer. Do you agree with her?
I do.
Edwin also went on to say that Northern Ireland wasn't a plaything for Ireland or the EU.
And Northern Ireland cannot be a plaything of the European Union or indeed the Southern Government. Northern Ireland people are more important.
To be honest, I'd quite mind being a plaything. If I was Edwin, I think that wouldn't be too bad. But he decided, took a bull by the horns. Edwin and possibly the next First Minister, Paul Givan, they went down to Dublin to face the old enemy, face the mighty eye. And Edwin went in, he told it as it was. Things were not good between Edwin and the Republic.
I have to say that our relationships between North and South have never been as bad. I do not blame the current Taoiseach for that. I blame the past Taoiseach.
Edmund has said, of course, there was no cross-border meetings. He said he did not go to them, but he just didn't happen to turn up for them. And that was probably going to stay the way it was. And then all of a sudden, this happened. I think the truth is, Edwin's more worried about his problems at home than he is the old enemy. You know, Edwin's more worried looking behind him for who's coming with the daggers. Et tu, Brute. That's what Edwin's up against, because there's all sorts of shenanigans still going on. News this week that the UK government had decided that Portugal was no longer going to be a green country, but was an amber country. Amber, of course, means you can go there, but you won't have to stay 10 days isolated when you come back. Now, the amber's a funny thing in this. You know, normally what you would have is red and green. Simple, that's simple. Red and green. You can go, you can't go. This amber one is the problem because people are still going to go. And there's all sorts of Delta variants, all sorts of variants out there. But look, what I love was people got so annoyed because they couldn't top up their tan. You know what I mean? You've had over 120 or something thousand people have died. God knows how many have been infected. There's a new variant coming in that may be 40% more contagious than what we've seen so far, and people are worried because I can't get my holiday. And we booked ourselves to Portugal so hard, we got a wee villa and everything now. I'm devastated, so I am. The ones that really get me, I'm sorry, the ones that are really getting me are this anti-vax mob. See these anti-vaxxers? I'm sorry. I know what I do with you. I inject it into your eye. I'm just saying that. That's the bottom line here. You know, they decided to take over a shopping mall to protest. Where are the zombies when you need them? Prime Minister Boris Johnson, he had a busy weekend. Ooh, started it off by getting married. We secret Boris only went and get married. Put a ring on it. Put a ring on it. Yes, Boris put a ring on it. There was some controversy because Boris got married in a Catholic ceremony in Westminster Cathedral. And people were asking, how was that possible considering now Boris has been divorced twice and gave up his Catholic faith when he was at university? Well, leaving aside, and there's no proof of that, but leaving that aside, the Catholic Church has pointed out that it's quite simple. It's quite simple. The two previous marriages were to Protestants and therefore not recognised in the Church as real marriages. I made a wee joke with my Protestant wife that means the next time I get married, I can do so in a Catholic chapel. Didn't go down well. Didn't go down well at all. Didn't take a joke. No sense of humour, Protestants. No sense of humour. I had to make my own dinner. Boris went straight from the nuptials to meet children who were visiting him in 10 Downing Street. That's sweet. He started proceedings by clarifying a very important point. You see, Boris has never told us how many children he actually has. Could be 5, could be 6. Who knows? I mean, come on. He's a busy Prime Minister. How is he supposed to keep count of details like that? What a big deal. Not to let the grass grow, Boris went straight from Downing Street with the kids and got a second COVID jab. Oh,
like that. Didn't feel a thing.
Just hold that there.
Yeah, hold that. Didn't feel a thing. Didn't feel a thing. Brilliant.
Didn't feel a thing. Didn't feel a thing. Brilliant. Which is funny because seemingly that's what his wife was heard shout on her wedding night. Didn't feel a thing. Didn't feel a thing. Brilliant. Jerry will be happy because the Belfast City Council have announced that they are going to erect 2 statues to women, Mary-Ann McCracken and Winifred Carney. Now, I'm not saying that I'm responsible for getting these put up, but I am the man who wrote about Mary-Ann McCracken. And I commented on the lack of female statues in Belfast way back in June 2020. I'd still like to see a statue of Jocelyn Bale Burnell. I think that'll be worthwhile. I think I'd have that. So I thought to myself, to leave you this week, seeing as I'm a day late, I thought I'll leave you and staying on the topic of statues. We have a very strange relationship with statues here. And I talked about this when I was on tour 4 years ago in Derry. So with that, later. I'm 56 years old, right? I know it's hard to believe, love. At this age, I'm now middle-aged. I have to accept that I'm middle-aged, and there is little of joy left in life to a middle-aged man. I have to watch my diet. I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't do drugs, I don't go with bad women. Sex is intermittent but enjoyable when it happens. All that is left to us middle-aged men, the thing that brings us joy above all else, is being proved right. Nothing makes me happier than being proved right. Now, this, believe it or not, is a sculpture. This cost 100,000 quid. Belfast City Council stuck this on the side of a hill in a forest where nobody can see it. It is called Origin. I was writing a column at the time. I renamed it Wank on the Bank. Now, can you imagine my joy when no less a publication than Spectator magazine voted it the worst piece of shite in the whole of the UK? Don't get me wrong. I love art. I love public art. I do believe that it adds to our lives. There are sculptures I love. When you're driving into Belfast, I love that. I love that. Because
I love the flags, the way the flags go right through the middle, right? I love the symmetry of the flags, right?
Here's the thing about us, all of us. The one thing we hate is ostentation. We hate people getting up their hole, right? Be it art, be it anything, we will not have it, right? So we never call the sculpture what the artist named it. No one will know this as its title. This is called Rise. We know it as Balls in the Falls. Or my favourite, Westicles. This is entitled The Beacon of Hope. The Beacon of Hope. Lula with a hula! Or the thing with a ring! Down south, they're even worse. Down south, they fuck it. I'm old enough to remember this on Collins Street. They moved it into a park. Now, the official title is
The Spirit of the Liffey.
not in Dublin. In Dublin, it is known as
The Whore in the Sewer.
Molly Malone, talk with the cart. They wouldn't. Not James Joyce. Not James Joyce.
The Prick with a Stick.